back to Moonlight Ponderings, episode 2. I'm Severine Nocturne.
It's Ronnie Moonborn.
And Firechild.
And today's episode is going to be about magical gifts and talents and how we use them and all that good stuff. So, the first one I think we're going to go over is probably Ronnie and the fact that he can stop traffic lights because...
This sounds weird. I think a lot of it is really convenience to clarify people. It's just that I'm at the right place at the right time. But no, there are times I'll just look at it and be like, green. And it'll go green. And this happens 99% of the time.
Unless the light just turned red.
Or they hate me.
There's been there was a time we went to the beach and the light just turned red and we were like, well, it's not going to work now. I don't know. I think that that's a very powerful thing though, because it sort of speaks on that speaking things into existence. I try to do that quite a lot. You know,
I'm a firm believer in that.
I look at myself in the mirror and kind of just tell myself, you know, this is going to happen. And a lot of times it does, but then there's been a couple of times, you know, it's not gone exactly how I think. So I think, you know, when you're doing that, you have to be kind of specific. Like, for example, if you're like, oh man, I really need the extra money. So you're like, I need extra money, you're asking for it or whatever. And then in my situation, what ended up happening was we ended up getting mandatory overtime.
But you got what you wanted.
I did get what I wanted, but not the way I wanted it. And not to say, I believe in working and I believe, you know, that I like my job. I happen to work a second shift, so I'm there from like 3 o'clock in the afternoon to 11 o'clock at night. And it is not fun being there later. So if I have to work overtime, I would just rather my boss be like, so come in earlier.
Yeah, because you want to get off at 11.
Yeah.
And not to say that where we live is an awful, awful place, but there are some sketchy parts of this area. And
We live in some ghetto areas.
don't say ghetto.
Shady places.
But it can be scary at some parts. Like, I don't believe in going out after a certain time. The lights thing, yeah, it's more so speaking into existence. I'm that way with a lot of things. I feel that I can be very persuasive when I want to be. Excuse me, I have to take a sip. I am very clairvoyant. I know this for a fact. I always have been. But I feel that tarot is a way for me to really focus on that ability. Like, it really harnesses the energy for that.
Yeah, and I definitely feel that I'm very clairvoyant. I talked a little bit last time about how I was Christian and the fact that, you know, that kind of, there were some things that sort of led me to think, maybe this is not really. And one thing that started happening a lot for me is I've always been a creative type anyway, but I've always had very vivid dreams. And sometimes it would seem like they were prophetic almost, you know, like I would message somebody or whatever and be like, just be careful today. I feel like something's not right. You know, I had a dream and, you know, you got hurt or something in the dream. There was one point when I was in college that I had a friend that I was really close to, and it was a guy friend, and he was dating this girl, and she was just extremely toxic. And I remember having this weird dream one night where I went to sleep and I saw like this creepy clown that didn't have bones and it moved like liquid. I know that sounds really weird, but it moved kind of in a fluidity instead of like like
Does
a
Stephen
snake.
King need to like take some notes from you? Because that sounds horrifying.
It was kind of snakeish like, or very, like I said, liquidy, instead of like, there were bones just not in there. And
I woke up right then.
I did wake up pretty quickly, and it was very scary, but the next day I could see him with this guy and his girlfriend.
Oh no.
And I realized that it wasn't so much that it was it might have been an entity, but I feel more like it was a representation of the negativity in their relationship.
Not today, Satan. Just
And
no.
They didn't last very long, but she was crazy. There were some, and I'm not going to go into his personal business, but just there was some life-risking stuff going on.
Oh, no, that's not good. And I believe Firechild is very good at recognizing signs.
Eh?
Oh, there he goes again.
Well, it's the truth. We did a scrying, and I saw a frog in there. And she was like, frogs represent transformation. And I'm like, how did she get that? And then she goes on talking about the tadpole, how first it's a tadpole, and then I'm like, that makes so much sense.
Oh my goodness.
I was just like, I wish.
And well, there's actually been a few other situations with Severine actually where I started seeing a lot of snakes, and I was just like, huh. And I was like, hey, so yeah, snakes. And then she comes back to me. She's like, I've been seeing a lot of snakes. I'm like, ha ha, you too. And she's like, shakes fist angrily at me, and I'm like, well, I just felt like it was something that you needed to see.
Well, I'm glad I didn't see those.
Well, on a side note, like, I have been very, very interested in snakes, and if I ever get a place where I have like just my own space one day or whatever, I'm gonna probably have a pet snake.
I won't be visiting Severine then.
It'll be like in a room where it's not gonna bother you, but it would not be until where we live right now. We couldn't have a pet, so. And although a snake is what I would consider not as the same maintenance as a cat or a dog would be. Not saying they're not high maintenance, low maintenance.
You have to feed it live food.
Yeah, well, no, you don't have to feed it exactly live. It just depends. Anyway, it depends on what you get, but side story, whatever. It's funny that she brings that up because I had a dream where I found out that a familiar of mine in my past life was a snake, and it was killed, and it was super sad. But definitely there's something there about snakes. I don't know what it is just yet, but it's not a bad thing.
Well, your deity is also known as the winged serpent.
That is true. Moonlight's house is also a winged serpent.
So.
The more you know.
But I've been getting into palmistry. Palmistry is very much so a in-depth thing. Because I just have a beginner's book right now, and it's a lot of information to take in.
I think, too, that when you have a talent or a gift, it doesn't necessarily mean it's always going to come naturally. I think that that's probably where a lot of people get the idea, oh, I don't really have a thing with crystals, or I don't really have a thing with fire or whatever. Sometimes it's just that you, as a person, require more work with whatever it is.
I agree 100% because when it came to tarot, it can be overwhelming when you're first starting because there's all these different cards that have different meanings, and you're like, how am I going to remember what all these meanings are? And it's more so about looking at the card and getting what you feel from it. What do you see when you look at this card? And
because sometimes you will see something and it's not really what the card is supposed to be traditionally or whatever, but it is what is needed for right now. And then sometimes it's pretty spot on what you're feeling. But
then you have those cards that follow you around like everywhere. Like my deck is different from the traditional tarot deck behind you. It's called the Chrysalis deck. So instead of pinnacles, there's stones and stuff like that. But there's this card called the Four of Stones, or in your regular case, the Four of Pentacles, that will come out almost every time we have a reading.
Yeah, almost every time all of us have had a reading, that one has come out.
And we will get in more into that later.
Yeah,
but
in the tarot episode. But as far as gifts go, I feel like I've got a very strong affinity for projection and lucid dreams, and just because like I see things. And I feel like it's a very clear, like the whole thing with the clown. I feel like, you know, part of that was not, maybe it was a prophetic dream, but at the same time, like it was present in actuality. So I feel like that I have that kind of, you know, I see stuff like that all the time.
I used to be really into aura looking at. I don't know how you would phrase that correctly. Gazing into people's auras.
Yeah, there you go. Let's eloquent it up.
And I don't do it so much anymore just because I don't feel the need to do it. It's not that I'm like, oh, I'm not into it anymore. It's just, I mean, I can still do it. But it's interesting to see the colors of people's auras. Like, I think the last time I did was Samhain, when you and Firechild were doing a little ritual and your auras turned gold. And that was like very nice to see. Okay, Emerald. Energies are another thing that I feel like I have a strong connection with. I can feel someone's energy pretty well, if it's negative or not. And I'm also pretty good at... It left me, so it may or may not. It said no.
It said, no, you're not good at me.
Exactly.
No, I'm sure that it's one of those things. Sometimes it's hard to get words to form.
All the time. Crafting into my cooking. I do a lot of, when I'm cooking food, I might try to put some energies into the food I make. Especially if I'm making something for someone that I want them to feel better or get better. Like, I might make a,
potato soup.
Yes, oh, that is right. I did that for Firechild. She had a horrible cold. And we were all hanging out. And I was just like, you know what? You have all the necessary ingredients. And I made potato soup. And it was probably one of my best potato soups because we put smoked Gouda in it.
And he's never made it again. Not for me anyway. Sadness.
Speaking of Firechild, what about you? What gifts do you feel like you have?
Well, like I said last time, I don't feel like I'm too terribly strong in any one area. They're always saying, "Well, you know," and I'm like, meh. But well, there's the empath. There's the empath thing, and I guess I can kind of see that because sometimes you get a sense about someone. You know, maybe this person just really needs someone to talk to, or this person you should really avoid, or you know, then there's the energy thing, which I follow a lot, and actually is part of the way I kind of tripped and fell into astral projection, I'll say, because I was following a particular energy that had just kind of been in the area for a while, and well, next thing I knew, I didn't know where I was at, and apparently I was gone for quite a while. And one of the first times I astral projected, Ronnie was with me, and from what I gather, I strayed much too far from my vessel. because apparently it was turning cyanotic, blue lips, and all that good stuff. Apparently the body quit breathing. That was before, and it's not funny, but I don't know. I guess it was just weird more than anything. And if things now that I am in tune with my familiar and the other spirits that have come to dwell with me, one good thing about that situation is that if I ever need to embark on a spirit journey, I have someone who can tend the vessel and make sure that, I don't do something like, forget to breathe and die and then not have a body to come back to.
Because Ronnie's not going to be there every time to slap you across the face. I didn't really. But
that was actually something, too, I think that's a good point, is that, with gifts and talents, just because you have them, you don't go, oh, I have this. You should be, I feel like, striving to kind of improve upon whatever it is.
Well, that's like with me and tarot. Like, I'm not going to immediately start charging people $50 for a tarot reading, which, at least around here, seems to be the going rate.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a little ridiculous.
Well, I don't think it's so much ridiculous because of the energy that has to be put into it. It depends on who it is and what they're doing. Think about, on a normal basis, we get 2 readings in, and you're done, or I'm done, or whatever. And that's a lot of energy that you have to put into it. So they should be paying you for that.
Okay, I kind of see that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just...
because it's a lot of...
I think for me, though, I couldn't see someone paying me $50, to read to them. I'm like, okay.
Well, I've seen 25 too. I think it just depends so much on what you feel is right. And if you don't feel like $50 is a good charge, definitely don't do it.
I mean, I'll take your money.
But if you don't feel like that's a good price for you, or you don't feel like, if the stress of having to pay $50 is going to interfere with you getting a positive reading, then you shouldn't be.
I don't feel like if you're having doubts about paying that much money,
you should
for
not
reading,
be.
You shouldn't get the reading then. I do agree to that.
That can go into that you're not ready to hear what it is. You're not. Maybe it's gonna be a much simpler thing than you really need a reading for. And I mean, you're the only one that's gonna know that, or whoever's helping you, guiding you, or whatever.
Because I've had people ask me common sense questions, and I'm like, I don't even have to look at my cards and tell you. It's like, why am I losing money? And I'm like, well, you spend a lot of money on frivolous things, and
yeah. And I mean, I think too that it's about, like with me, I recognize that, like in the dream I had with the clown, like that clown is not something that I'll probably see every time for that exact same situation. If I have a friend who has a relationship like that, again, it could be something else. And so I do need to pick up on signs, but I need to also be kind of prepared that it might not look the same. It might be different, and there's a reason. So,
but let's see. Back to the whole gifts situation. To be honest, as far as me, I'm not really sure. I'm just trying to experiment with different things and see what feels right.
I know one for sure.
Oh goodness,
fire.
Oh my goodness.
And you can't even say that's not one. You can't. Me and Ronnie will sit here and tell them.
Oh my goodness.
I have seen. We've sat here and struggled to light a candle or light a coal for...
She walks in the room and it's like, this candle's on fire!
It was not that serious. Oh my... You people are terrible. Oh my goodness. But, well, I don't know that I consider that a talent per se.
Is it because it was Alicia Keys? Should we K-pop you? Fire!
Oh no! But I don't necessarily consider consider that a talent so much as an affinity. I do love fire. I always have.
It is a talent though because I can't do it.
Oh my goodness.
Can you do it?
I think me and Fire have an agreement that sometimes it'll work with me. Then other times it's like, I'm burning you down.
I think fire for me, like, you know, we have a good relationship, but we don't have that sort of thing where, like, you know, I might sit there and have to take a little while to get it to light up.
It takes some coaxing. Air is more of my element.
And earth is really more of mine.
Because I can summon a wind pretty easily.
Although water seems to be pretty strong too, so I don't know.
But, well then,
I found something off the table.
but then, you know, again, back to the astral projection, I feel like I've gotten a lot better at utilizing that for gaining knowledge and kind of, and not always necessarily astral projecting, but you know, just picking up on things from my familiar and spirit guides, because they've helped me a lot on my journey. They've helped kind of coach me, especially when it comes to herb work. I love working with crystals, with herbs, and you know, they've given me a lot of really good advice. And so some things are kind of intuitive, you know. It's like I'm feeling a certain way, or there's a certain something I want to do. I just throw some herbs together, set it on fire, and it usually works out.
Well, speaking of herbs, I mean, she's working with tea tree oil right now for a remedy, which I wouldn't think to do. I'm gonna be honest. I'd be like,
It's a natural remedy for a lot of things. Actually, tea tree oil is really good if you have like back pain, and you know, we should probably just go ahead and say that we should have an herb episode. I feel.
Oh,
like.
definitely. Yeah. I think we'll definitely have more in-depth episodes for our interests, like Severine mentioned, an episode specific to tarot. We can do one for herbs. We can do one for crystals. And you know, astral projection and wax reading and all that good stuff.
But I guess if I had to go into other gifts, I tend to have a very good gift when it comes to music.
you do.
Very true.
She can sing, guys.
Yes, she can.
We'll make her sing one day.
All right, Ursula. Coming back from that episode, last episode.
Sing for me.
Oh, goodness.
But I feel like I've got a natural thing with instruments too, not just singing. Like I have a kalimba, which I have some videos, and they will be up. As of recent, one thing that I have been doing is with my crystals. I have been doing tarot readings for their lives. Sort of, and that's another thing that we'll have to go into, because I actually believe crystals are living beings, and there's some science too behind that. I know that there's a lot of skeptical science around that too, and not to say that, you know, I feel like my way is the complete right way, but it's working for me, and I've got a couple of them, some songs on kalimbas that I've written out, and I'll be having them uploaded.
But let us know about your gifts. What's something you're talented at doing?
How do you use your gifts to enhance your spiritual path, your explorations, or to, you know, for any general problem solving?
And there'll be no judgment, at least from us. I can't promise that on the internet.
If people judge you, just ignore it. It's there to make you stronger. You know, that's honestly how I feel about that.
So I guess this is probably a good time to kind of wrap this one up.
Yeah, I think so.
There's a lot that we're going to kind of springboard from this, but once again, thank you so much for listening to another episode of Moonlight Ponderings, and this is Firechild signing out.
Severine signing out too, I guess.
And Ronnie Moonborn, your favorite, of course,
Oh, wow.
is saying, "Blessed be. Please like and subscribe. If you're listening to us via podcast, good for you. You are amazing. Give us an email. We will talk to y'all again soon.
Be safe. Bye.